More than 2,000 years ago, Emperor Wu of Han accepted the advice of Dong Zhongshu, dismissed the 100 schools of thought, and established Confucianism as the sole state ideology. Confucian thought, especially the teachings of Confucius, was strongly promoted. Concepts such as the 3 bonds and 5 constants introduced by Dong Zhongshu provided feudal emperors with a unified ideological standard to consolidate centralized power. At the same time, the book by Gui Guzi began to be placed on the banned list, marking the beginning of over 2,000 years of suppression by feudal dynasties. So what does the book Gui Guzi talk about? Why is it called the Supreme Book of Strategy? And why did feudal emperors regard it as a disaster, fearing that their people might access the ideas within it? Grow Wise welcomes you, dear viewers. Each day, listening to one valuable book can help you live a more enlightened life and elevate your thinking to a higher level. Today, we will explore a mysterious figure in Chinese history. Gui Guzi, the mysterious master, also known as the author of the Bai Hua chapter, was written by Wang Shu, an extraordinary master of strategy during the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. Because Wang Shu lived in seclusion on Ghost Valley Mountain in the Yunmeng Range, he became known as Gui Guzi. Gui Guzi is regarded as one of the most mysterious figures in the past 1,000 years. He lived in deep seclusion in the mountains, avoiding contact with the outside world, yet his reputation spread far and wide. He trained 4 famous disciples, Su Qin, Zhang Yi, Sun Bin, and Peng Huan, all outstanding figures of the Warring States era. For example, Su Qin became famous for the story of hanging a beam over his head and piercing his thigh with an awl to stay awake while studying. After studying under Gui Guzi and mastering the art of vertical and horizontal strategy, Su Qin went to the state of Zhao, persuaded its rulers, and proposed a strategy to unite the 6 states against the state of Qin. He established the Vertical Alliance, became its leader, and held the seal of chancellor for 6 states, causing Qin to refrain from crossing the Hangbi Pass for 15 years. Gui Guzi was highly skilled in psychology, strategy, and the art of persuasion, earning him the title of Sage of Strategy from later generations. For this reason, his ideas contradicted the Confucian principles of benevolence and morality, leading to criticism. Thus, the book Gui Guzi was placed on the banned list. However, some believe that Gui Guzi's thought is a continuation of Lao Tzu's Taoist philosophy and represents its practical application. Why is that so? Yin and Yang in Gui Guzi's thought. Gui Guzi, also known as Bai Hua, begins the first chapter with the Bai Hua chapter. So what is Bai Hua? In the Bai Hua chapter, it is explained as follows. I is to open, expressed through speech, which is Yang. He is to close, expressed through silence, which is Yin. When openness is needed, be open. When concealment is needed, be concealed. The combination of yin and yang is the pinnacle of strategy. Gui Guzi then continues, this is the way of heaven and earth, yin and yang, and the method of human affairs. It is the ancestor of all generations and the gateway to the original principles. He acknowledges that human nature is inherently selfish and advocates using this trait to formulate strategies. This stands in contrast to Confucian thought, which holds that human nature is inherently good at birth. From this perspective, Gui Guzi's and Confucius's ideas resemble the 2 sides of yin and yang in ancient philosophy. If Gui Guzi's strategy is the tree, then Lao Tzu's Taoist thought is the foundation behind it. Many concepts in Lao Tzu's philosophy can be used to explain Gui Guzi's strategic theories, the Tao behind Gui Guzi's strategy. Tao is the core concept in Lao Tzu's Taoist thought. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says, the Tao gives birth to the one gives birth to the two gives birth to the three, and the three gives birth to the 10,000 things. All things carry yin and embrace yang, harmonizing through the blending of breaths. For Lao Tzu, Tao is the source of all things in the universe, and everything in the world arises from Tao. Gui Guzi incorporated this idea from Lao Tzu into his strategic theory. In the Bai Hua chapter, Gui Guzi says, Bai Hua is the great Tao. Its changes are the transformations of union and separation. He views Baihua as evolving from Tao, meaning that all diplomatic strategies originate from Tao. Gui Guzi elevated the theories of vertical and horizontal strategy, Baihua, and yin-yang into Tao, making them part of Taoist art. This means many categories of Lao Tzu's Taoist thought can be used to explain Gui Guzi's strategic theories. Thus, Gui Guzi built his theoretical system upon the foundation of Lao Tzu's Taoist philosophy, making the theories of vertical and horizontal strategy and soft persuasion more systematic and rational. In practice, Gui Guzi applied Lao Tzu's concept of shangru, or supreme softness. From the core of Gui Guzi's thought, he proposed strategic principles and techniques such as opening and closing, internal concealment, external concealment, 5 checks, and provocation. These strategic theories are highly consistent with Lao Tzu's emphasis on flexibility and softness in Taoist philosophy. In Lao Tzu's thought, an important aspect is the emphasis on yin and softness. The Tao Te Ching, Chapter 8, says, "The highest goodness is like water." Chapter 78 says, "Nothing in the world is softer and weaker than water, yet nothing can overcome the strong and hard better." Water is soft but possesses immense power. Softness overcomes hardness. There is a story that during Emperor Shun's reign, the Yumiao tribe, located in rugged terrain like Dongting and Hengshan, refused to submit. People suggested military action, but Shun refused, believing education and moral influence should come first. After many years of peaceful guidance, Yumiao finally submitted without violence. Is this not an example of using soft strategy to win? Softness overcoming hardness means that gentleness can triumph over brute strength. Even those who consider themselves strong can use flexible strategies. Someone might conquer the world on horseback, but winning the world does not mean one can immediately rule it. To govern a country sustainably, one must combine civil and military approaches, balancing firmness with subtlety. In Gui Guzi's strategic thought, the basic starting point is knowing oneself and knowing the enemy, emphasizing the need to thoroughly understand the opponent's situation while keeping one's own side's information as secret as possible. Therefore, Gui Guzi highly values covert planning. He says, "The sage plans in darkness, thus achieves success in the light." This means strategy must be hidden, only revealed when absolutely necessary. In 494 BC, King Fuchai of Wu launched an attack on the state of Yue, defeated its army, and forced King Guzhan of Yue to retreat to Kuaiji with only 5,000 remaining soldiers facing dire straits. In this difficult situation, Guzhan followed the cautious advice of Fan Li, proactively sought peace, surrendered state authority, and personally went to Wu as a hostage for 3 years. Later, Fuchai released Guzhan back to his country. Guzhan shared hardships with his people, endured 10 years of careful preparation, and finally avenged his defeat and destroyed the state of Wu. Guzhan's retreat to Kuaiji seemed extremely weak, but by using strategic patience, enduring hardship, and tasting bitterness, Yue ultimately reversed its fate, turning from weak to strong. If Guzhan had chosen direct confrontation with Wu back then, how would history have unfolded? By comparison, it is clear that Gui Guzi's strategic thought was deeply influenced by Lao Tzu's Taoist philosophy. Although Lao Tzu emphasized softness, he did not apply it directly to strategy. Gui Guzi, however, applied this idea to solve strategic problems. Shu Jing, or emptiness and stillness, is another important concept in Lao Tzu's Taoist thought. Chapter 16 of the Tao Te Ching discusses reaching the extreme of emptiness and stillness and maintaining inner calm. For Lao Tzu, Shu Jing is the essential mental state for self-cultivation. Gui Guzi inherited Lao Tzu's concept of Shu Jing and incorporated it into his strategic theory, viewing emptiness and stillness as a prerequisite for creating effective strategies. Gui Guzi wrote, "When the mind is calm, the spirit arises. When thinking is deep, strategy succeeds." A person's mental state is the key factor determining the success of a strategy. Here, Gui Guzi sees Shu Jing as the necessary mental condition for generating strategy. This is one of Gui Guzi's major contributions in applying Lao Tzu's Taoist thought to practical strategy. In military strategy, people always emphasize using stillness to control motion, especially in unfavorable situations. To conceal true intentions, one uses calmness to make the opponent lower their guard, waits for the right moment, and then strikes unexpectedly. In 228 AD, Sima Yi, a general of the Wei state, led 150,000 troops to attack Zicheng, where Zhuge Liang was stationed. At that time, Zhuge Liang had only a few civil officials and 2,500 soldiers. Zhuge Liang ordered all carriages and soldiers to be hidden, and no one was allowed to go outside or cause any noise. Then he instructed soldiers to open all 4 city gates and place 20 soldiers disguised as civilians sweeping at each gate. When Sima Yi saw this, he said, "Zhuge Liang has always been cautious and never takes risks. Now he opens the city gates. There must be an ambush. If we enter, we will fall into his trap." He then ordered a retreat. This story illustrates the power of stillness and concealment. The concept of Wu Wei, or non-action, in Lao Tzu's thought and Gui Guzi's strategy shows strong parallels. Wu Wei and naturalness are key concepts in Lao Tzu's Taoism. Lao Tzu believed that all things should follow their natural course of development without forceful external intervention. In Gui Guzi's writings, the concept of Wu Wei appears multiple times. In the Baihua chapter, Gui Guzi writes, "The wise do not force, they observe. Only when there is change can there be separation, union, advance, retreat, visibility, or concealment. Wu Wei is the key." Here, Wu Wei implies following the characteristics of the person being persuaded, then applying different methods accordingly. This aligns with Lao Tzu's idea of Wu Wei. Gui Guzi adopted this concept and applied it to the fields of persuasion and strategy, using it to explain strategic principles. The dialectical thought in Taoism and Gui Guzi's strategy share many similarities. Lao Tzu's dialectical ideas are rich. In Chapter 2 of the Tao Te Ching, he writes, "Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy complete each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Sound and voice harmonize with each other. Front and back follow each other." This means all things have opposing sides. Therefore, when observing something, one must not only see its positive side, but also pay attention to its opposite. Influenced by Lao Tzu's dialectical thought, Gui Guzi created the Fan Ying technique. In the Fan Ying chapter, Gui Guzi writes, "The great transformer operates invisibly. Observe the past to understand the future. Observe the return to understand the origin. Observe the opposite to understand the core. Observe the response to understand the cause." Here, Fan means thinking from the opponent's perspective, observing and understanding them deeply. Since all things have 2 sides, approaching persuasion or planning from the opposite side or the opponent's viewpoint often yields surprising results. Lao Tzu also proposed that when something develops to its extreme, it will transform into its opposite, reversing its initial state. In Chapter 36 of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, "If you want to weaken it, you must first strengthen it. If you want to discard it, you must first promote it. If you want to take it, you must first give it." This is Lao Tzu's analysis of how situations develop, explaining the idea that things reverse when they reach their extreme. The famous story of the frontier farmer losing his horse illustrates this idea. The story tells of an old man who raised horses on the northern border. One day, his horse ran away. A year later, the horse returned, bringing a herd of fine horses. His son rode one of the horses and fell, breaking his leg. However, because of his injury, he was exempted from military service and survived when many other young men from the village were drafted and died in battle. This story has been passed down for thousands of years, showing that when events reach an extreme, they can shift in the opposite direction. Gui Guzi incorporated this idea into strategic art, proposing methods of Huan and Diao in persuasion. Huan is a crucial concept in Gui Guzi's thought. Mentioned in the Baihua chapter, Yang moves outward, Yin remains hidden. Yang appears, Yin retreats. Yang advances, Yin withdraws. Yang within Yin, Yin reaches its extreme and turns to Yang. This means Yang develops to its peak and turns into Yin, and Yin at its peak turns into Yang. Figures like Su Qin and Zhang Yi, Gui Guzi's disciples, applied this theory to adjust their strategies according to circumstances. During the Warring States period, states constantly formed and broke alliances, sometimes uniting, sometimes fighting. Practical choices without absolute right or wrong, only suitability. The Fan Ying chapter also says, to hear their voice, remain silent, to make them reveal themselves, conceal yourself. To appear superior, lower yourself. To gain from them, first give to them. When fishing, bait is used to lure fish. Similarly, in persuasion, subtle techniques are used to understand the opponent, helping to grasp their real situation. From these aspects, it is clear that Gui Guzi's art of strategy is the development and practical application of Taoist principle softness, flexibility, and Wu Wei from Lao Tzu's philosophy. This is the path by which Gui Guzi theorized and applied the vertical and horizontal school in reality. Thank you for watching today's content. This week's summary and interpretation of the book Gui Guzi ends here. If you have personal thoughts about Gui Guzi, please leave a comment and share. If you find this content valuable, don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones.